The grand piano stood in the corner of the elegant restaurant, its polished ebony surface reflecting the soft glow of a crystal chandelier above and hinting at countless stories held within its keys. The air smelled faintly of fresh roses from vases on nearby tables and of warm bread from the kitchen, creating a welcoming hush as guests spoke in low tones. A wealthy man in a tailored charcoal suit entered, his polished shoes clicking on a marble floor as he scanned the room with a confident, almost haughty gaze. He settled into the seat closest to the piano, brushing a lock of dark hair from his forehead and lifting a crystal glass of iced tea to his lips with a slow, deliberate motion. The waitress approached with quiet steps, her crisp white apron tied neatly at her waist, and placed a plate of steaming soup before another guest without spilling a drop. Her dark skin glowed in the soft light, and her warm brown eyes shone with calm professionalism despite the late afternoon rush. The wealthy man tapped his long fingers against the table's edge, producing a sharp rhythm that drew the attention of nearby diners. He looked up at her and called her name in a chilly voice that carried a hint of mockery, prompting her to pause mid-step. Her heart raced as she approached his table, her shoes whispering against the marble as she set down a coaster under his glass. He pointed to the grand piano and said, "Play for me," his tone flat yet filled with the expectation that she would obey without question. Gasps rippled through the room as the other patrons realized he intended to use his wealth and power to humiliate a waitress. She swallowed hard, feeling her throat tighten, but she forced herself to nod and to step toward the piano bench. The guard flanking the man gave a curt nod, signaling her to hurry, while the rich man leaned back with folded arms. She placed both hands on the piano keys and sat up straight, her chest rising in a slow, steady breath as she steadied her nerves. Each black and white key seemed to vibrate under her fingertips, waiting for her to unlock the music hidden inside. He watched her with a smirk, as though he anticipated a clumsy attempt that would entertain his guests. She closed her eyes for an instant, recalling every private lesson she had taken in secret and every hour spent practicing at home. A solitary note rang out when her finger pressed the first key, pure and bright, cutting through the tense silence like morning sunlight. He snorted softly and said, "Is that all?" as though he expected nothing more than a simple clink of sound. She lifted her chin and let her fingers move to the next notes, each one ringing clearer and stronger than the one before. The melody unfolded like a gentle wave, and some diners closed their eyes to savor the warm harmony filling the hall. He leaned forward, his eyes narrowing, thinking she would soon falter under his gaze. She felt a surge of confidence, remembering how each note she practiced had once made her heart soar at home. She guided her hands through a simple tune at first, then allowed the music to grow richer, full of emotion she could not keep hidden. The notes danced in the air, weaving around the guests and wrapping their minds in a story only music could tell. He waved his hand impatiently and challenged her, "Show me something worthy of true skill, if you have any." She took a breath and shifted into a new melody, one she learned from a beloved teacher who always called her talent a gift. The richer chords echoed across the high ceiling, making the chandeliers tremble with soft light and warming every listener's heart. Whispers of awe spread through the room as the music painted pictures of sunlight, hope, and quiet strength in each phrase. He tried to hide his surprise, but his smirk wavered when the melody soared with clear confidence. Her fingers flew over the keys, each movement sure and graceful, as though she were born to play that very piano. The tune built and blossomed like a flower opening petal by petal under warm spring sun. Some diners wiped tears from their eyes, moved by the beauty they never expected from such an unlikely performer. He sat up straighter, curiosity and respect flickering in his expression, erasing any trace of mockery. The final chords rang out in a gentle cascade, soft yet powerful, filling the room with the glow of shared wonder. Silence followed, heavy and breathless, as if time itself paused to honor her playing. She lifted her hands from the keys and exhaled slowly, her chest rising with both relief and quiet pride. All eyes turned toward the wealthy man, waiting to see his reaction to the talent he tried to belittle. He lowered his hand, placing his glass back on the table, and stared at the piano as though seeing it for the first time. In that still moment, the restaurant held its breath. She had turned his mocking demand into a triumph of music and dignity. The wealthy man cleared his throat before speaking again, saying, "I have never heard such beauty from someone I did not expect to play so well," and a soft murmur of agreement drifted through the room like a warm breeze across a silent lake. The diners shifted in their seats, exchanging broad smiles and approving nods as they looked at her with new admiration, their eyes shining like polished gems with pride at the courage she had shown. She stood up from the piano bench and curtsied politely, her stomach fluttering with surprise and joy at the unexpected praise from one who tried to humiliate her moments before. He waved his hand and called for a glass of water, signaling the guard with a discreet nod that carried both authority and a hint of respect, revealing that he now intended to honor rather than belittle her remarkable gift. As the guard brought the water, the hostess approached with a small bouquet of fresh white lilies and roses, placing them gently before her on the piano as symbols of admiration and gratitude blooming in the room. She accepted the flowers with a shy smile, her fingers brushing the soft petals and feeling warmth spread through her chest as blossoms of confidence seemed to unfold within her very soul. The wealthy man stood up and approached her side of the piano, his expensive leather shoes making soft thuds on the marble floor like a respectful drumbeat that pulsed in time with her steady heartbeat. He spoke in a calm and sincere voice to the diners, announcing, "Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have witnessed a true gift in our humble establishment, a melody that transcends wealth and status," his words echoing under the glittering chandelier. The guests broke into applause, their hands clapping like distant church bells, filling the hall with a joyful echo that broke lingering tension. She smiled shyly and thanked him softly, her clear voice carrying a gentle strength that surprised even her own senses, as candles flickered on each table and her heart swelled with unexpected pride. He stepped forward and placed a generous tip on the piano's gleaming edge, ensuring every staff member would share in his generosity before turning back to her with a soft smile and eyes that held a gentle, sincere respect. Then he said, "Please continue playing. Let every note you share tonight remind us that talent can bloom anywhere, even in unexpected places," his tone warm as he invited them all to discover beauty in a simple moment of music. The pianist nodded and returned gracefully to her seat, smoothing her crisp apron and carefully arranging her slender hands on the keys with renewed purpose and a calm determination lighting her eyes. The room grew quiet again as she lifted her steady gaze to the piano and pressed the first shining key of a new piece, confident and poised, letting soft anticipation bloom in every hushed listener. The melody she chose was bright and lively, dancing from one scale to the next with joyful, uplifting energy that made toes tap, heads nod, and even the chandeliers seemed to sway gently above the audience. Patrons smiled across polished tables, some humming softly under their breath, eyes closed as they let the music lift their spirits and weave a golden thread of joy through the shared moment. The wealthy man watched her play with a thoughtful expression, his usual pride softened by humility, as though he had learned an important lesson about respect, kindness, and the true power of music. He leaned closer and whispered quietly to the hostess, "Make sure her manager knows she is welcome to play at my events whenever she wishes," his voice low yet full of genuine admiration and promise. A soft ripple of surprise passed through the staff as the hostess nodded, eyes wide with excitement, then scribbled a quick note on her order pad to inform the pianist's family about this generous invitation later. She continued playing piece after piece, each one full of life, hope, and the gentle promise of new beginnings, allowing each chord to shine like a small beacon of light in every attentive heart. The music filled every cozy corner of the restaurant, seeping into hearts and painting vivid images of sunlight, laughter, and fields of wildflowers under the flickering candlelight. At one point, a child at a nearby table sat up in wide-eyed awe, staring at her fingers as they moved like graceful butterflies across the piano keys, and even reaching out as if hoping to catch the gentle trail of each melody. The wealthy man chuckled softly at the child's wide-eyed reaction and gave a respectful nod in her direction, his laughter like a gentle bell of approval that seemed to echo the beauty of her gift. She smiled warmly at the child, then turned back to the piano and let her melody swell with even greater confidence and grace. The guests applauded after each piece, their hands ringing like gentle bells in the quiet warmth of the room, creating ripples of gratitude and joy that seemed to dance between each candlelit table. The rich man gently called the restaurant manager over and asked him to speak with her family about offering formal training or a scholarship, a chance to nurture her gift and support her in every way her talent deserved. The manager's eyes widened with excitement and gratitude, his voice trembling with emotion as he promised to relay the generous offer to her family with all the honor and care it deserved. She noticed their hushed conversation from atop the piano bench and felt her heart flutter with excitement and hope for what lay ahead, as if a small bird were learning to stretch its wings for the first time. After the final piece ended, she closed her eyes and let the last note resonate, savoring how the music lingered like a soft, glowing memory and filled her soul with gentle warmth. As the final chord faded, the wealthy man clapped loudly, standing along with the other guests in a standing ovation that lit up the room, their applause echoing like gentle thunder and candles flickering brighter in excitement. She rose gracefully from the bench, her dress swishing softly around her legs, and took a respectful bow to accept the applause, her heart beating in time with the fading echoes. The diners rose to their feet one by one, cheering her name in a chorus that felt like the triumphant finale of a grand symphony performed in a rain of golden light. He walked toward her and extended his hand, saying, "You have a gift that the world should hear. Allow me to help you share it," his voice steady and full of promise. She hesitated, overwhelmed by his kindness, but nodded and shook his hand with a gentle firmness that showed her gratitude and quiet confidence. The manager approached and presented a small card with a phone number, stating softly that someone would call soon regarding her future performances and training opportunities. She held the card delicately, staring at the gold-embossed lettering, and wondered if her life had just changed forever in that single shining moment. The wealthy man returned to his table and raised his glass once more, saying, "To the pianist who reminded us all of the true meaning of beauty and courage," his words sincere and warm. Glasses clinked across the room in a toast that felt heartfelt and uplifting, echoing the harmony she had created and binding everyone together in that shared celebration. She watched the celebration around her, her heart full of hope, and her mind racing with dreams of the music she could share beyond these walls and into the wider world. In that moment, after the standing ovation ended and the cheers faded into soft echoes, she carefully gathered her neatly stacked sheet music, letting her fingers brush the smooth edges of each page and feeling the weight of possibility settle in her mind. The restaurant manager, his face full of pride, stood beside her in his crisp black suit, guiding her through a side door into a quiet hallway where a small group of staff members waited to congratulate her quietly. Her eyes widened at the sight of her younger brother and grandmother standing under a glowing lantern hung from an iron hook, their simple clothes softly illuminated by the golden light. The manager introduced a tall, well-dressed representative of the wealthy man, who stepped forward holding a small ivory envelope tied with a golden ribbon and a wax seal stamped with the wealthy man's crest. With trembling fingers full of excitement, she took the envelope carefully and felt the smooth paper under her fingertips as a feeling of joyful anticipation fluttered in her chest. Outside the restaurant, the warm April air wrapped around her like a soft blanket, and lanterns hanging from wrought iron posts glowed like fireflies, their light flickering against walls of old stone. The gentle sound of music still drifted out through the open door, mingling with soft laughter and the distant clink of glassware as guests drifted in and out of view. She turned toward her grandmother, whose proud eyes shone like stars on a clear night, and whose thin hands trembled only with happiness as she reached out for her granddaughter's hand, her shawl rustling softly over worn fabric. Her younger brother, bouncing on his toes, rushed forward and wrapped her in a tight hug, whispering words of congratulations and promises of a bright future that made her heart lift like a balloon, his voice filled with boundless excitement and hope for their shared future. The representative spoke in a warm voice, explaining that the wealthy man had asked for a family meeting at his estate so he could thank them personally and discuss her new opportunities, and his estate's ornate gates awaited their arrival, promising grandeur beyond her wildest dreams. They walked down a narrow cobblestone lane lined with colorful flower pots and glowing lanterns swaying gently in the breeze, each step echoing softly against the stone and overhead strings of lanterns casting a warm, inviting glow over every step she took. Her grandmother pressed the ivory envelope to her chest and said in her gentle voice, "This is a gift of hope and music wrapped in kindness that will guide your dreams." She took a slow, deep breath like a bird preparing for flight, feeling her heart flutter with a mixture of excitement and wonder at the promise held in the envelope. The manager explained that the wealthy man wanted to offer her a full music scholarship covering lessons, books, and travel to concerts so she could study with the best teachers in grand concert halls and master every nuance of her gift. She looked at her grandmother, whose proud nod felt like a warm ray of sunshine filling her soul with confidence and joy she had never known before. The representative then handed her a small card with a gleaming phone number and an email address printed in elegant letters on crisp paper that seemed to glow under lantern light, each letter a promise of a new life. She took the card and said thank you with a soft voice full of gratitude, her words floating gently in the air like the tail of a melody. Her brothers skipped forward, leading their family toward a waiting black car with the engine humming quietly, ready to carry them to new adventures. Inside the vehicle, they settled onto plush leather seats as the doors closed softly, and the driver set off under a sky sprinkled with stars, the wheels humming silently on the cobblestones as they drove toward her next great opportunity. She gazed out the window at the twinkling city lights that looked like a field of tiny diamonds, thinking of how her piano at home awaited her return, and each light winking like a beacon guiding her toward her dreams and reminding her of home. The envelope and a card rested in her lap, feeling heavy and full of promise, like a treasure chest filled with possibilities. She smoothed the folds of her white apron beneath her warm coat and felt a sense of calm determination settle in her mind. Her grandmother reached over to hold her hand and whispered, "Remember, my child, this moment will guide your path like a bright lantern in the night," and she felt a bright hope shining in her chest. They arrived at a modest brick house with a glowing window, a simple home filled with memories and love, where their journey had first begun, the bricks warmed by the day's sun and windows framed by simple curtains tied back gently at the edges. She unlocked the front door with a small key that jingled softly in her hand and stepped into a room filled with old family photos, the comforting scent of home greeting her, and a familiar doormat beneath her feet bearing witness to countless comings and goings. In the kitchen, her mother stood wiping her hands on a dish towel, her eyes shining with tears of pride that fell like tiny pearls onto her cheeks, her apron stained from cooking, a testament to years of love stirred into every meal. Her brother gently took the ivory envelope from her hands and opened it slowly, reading each word aloud with careful respect and excitement in his voice. When he reached the part about the scholarship, he looked up, and his grin was as wide as the moon on a clear night. She hugged her mother around the waist, wrapping her in comfort like a blanket woven from love and laughter. On a small wooden table, her grandmother placed a simple cake decorated with flowers and lit a single candle to celebrate her return. They all gathered around the cake and sang a soft song of celebration, their voices blending like the notes of a sweet harmony. She laughed with delight, feeling love and excitement swirl around her in gentle circles like a cheerful dance. After they finished the song, she carefully opened the ivory envelope to read the invitation and instructions one more time. The letter promised free music lessons, books, and the chance to perform at special events hosted by the wealthy man and his friends. Tears of joy filled her eyes as she imagined playing her music in grand halls and sharing her gift with new audiences far beyond her little town. Her brother said he would learn a new song to play alongside her at a recital one day, and his eyes sparkled with pride in her talent. She smiled and promised him they would make music together, creating melodies that would echo through halls and hearts forever. That evening, she sat at the old upright piano in their cozy living room and played a soft tune that filled the space with warm light. Each note she played drifted through the quiet house like a gentle breeze, wrapping her family in the soft glow of hope and promise. As she finished the melody and closed her eyes, she looked at the invitation on the stand and knew her true journey was only just beginning. The next morning, she woke early with a mixture of excitement and nervousness about her visit to the wealthy man's grand estate, as the soft morning light filled the room and reminded her of how far she had come. She dressed carefully in her best dress, smoothing her hair and checking her reflection in a small mirror, with her mind racing with dreams of music and possibility like a bright dawn. Her family gathered for breakfast, smiling proudly as she ate slowly to calm her nerves, as the world outside seemed to hum with quiet excitement and hope. Her grandmother pressed a homemade sandwich into her hand and said, "Take this for lunch," while gentle breezes carried the scent of flowers from the garden. Her brother set out her favorite snack, a small bag of nuts and dried fruit, and nodded encouragingly, and she felt a gentle warmth of courage blossom in her chest. Her mother adjusted her coat and said, "Remember to speak with confidence and kindness," as distant church bells chimed, echoing like a welcoming melody. They drove through winding roads lined with tall trees that rustled softly in the morning breeze, with a quiet strength growing inside her, like roots of a sturdy tree. She watched as the landscape changed from familiar houses to rolling fields and neat hedges, and her mind drifted to memories of every late-night practice session. Soon they reached a grand iron gate with tall pillars and golden ornaments, feeling a soft thrill of promise flutter through her like wings of a bird. The car rolled through and entered a long driveway bordered by blooming flower beds, noticing the sky painted in soft pastel hues, like a canvas of new beginnings. She felt her heart beat fast when she saw the large mansion with many windows and a shining roof, as the soft morning light filled the room and reminded her of how far she had come. The driver stopped near the front door, where two guards in crisp uniforms stood silently, with her mind racing with dreams of music and possibility like a bright dawn. The manager opened the door and helped her step out onto the smooth stone steps, as the world outside seemed to hum with quiet excitement and hope. She saw the wealthy man waiting with a warm smile and outstretched hand while gentle breezes carried the scent of flowers from the garden. He welcomed her by name and spoke kindly about her performance the night before, and she felt a gentle warmth of courage blossom in her chest. His voice was gentle but clear, putting her at ease as she shook his hand as distant church bells chimed, echoing like a welcoming melody. They walked through a grand hallway with marble floors and tall paintings on the walls, with a quiet strength growing inside her, like roots of a sturdy tree. She noticed a large crystal chandelier hanging from the high ceiling, and her mind drifted to memories of every late-night practice session. The wealthy man invited her to sit at a smaller piano in a sunlit room next to the main hall, feeling a soft thrill of promise flutter through her like wings of a bird. A teacher stood beside the piano, introducing herself as her first tutor, noticing the sky painted in soft pastel hues, like a canvas of new beginnings. The tutor had kind eyes and a calm manner that made her feel comfortable, as the soft morning light filled the room and reminded her of how far she had come. She sat on the piano bench and placed her hands on the keys, her mind racing with dreams of music and possibility like a bright dawn. The tutor asked her to play a short scale exercise to warm up her fingers, as the world outside seemed to hum with quiet excitement and hope. She played the scale slowly at first, then with gentle speed as her confidence grew, while gentle breezes carried the scent of flowers from the garden. The tutor smiled and offered tips on hand position and posture, and she felt a gentle warmth of courage blossom in her chest. After the warm-up, the tutor gave her new sheet music to study, as distant church bells chimed, echoing like a welcoming melody. The music was more challenging but still beautiful and full of emotion, with a quiet strength growing inside her, like roots of a sturdy tree. She read through the notes, her eyes tracing each symbol carefully, and her mind drifted to memories of every late-night practice session. The tutor asked her to play a single phrase from the new piece, feeling a soft thrill of promise flutter through her like wings of a bird. She played the phrase slowly and with care, focusing on each note, noticing the sky painted in soft pastel hues, like a canvas of new beginnings. The tutor nodded and suggested slight changes in timing to improve the flow, as the soft morning light filled the room and reminded her of how far she had come. She practiced the phrase several times, listening to the sound and adjusting her touch, her mind racing with dreams of music and possibility like a bright dawn. Outside, birds sang in the garden, their songs drifting through the open window as the world outside seemed to hum with quiet excitement and hope. The wealthy man watched quietly from a comfortable chair, listening to her practice while gentle breezes carried the scent of flowers from the garden. After an hour of practice, the tutor praised her hard work and progress, and she felt a gentle warmth of courage blossom in her chest. The wealthy man offered her a glass of water and a small plate of fruit, as distant church bells chimed, echoing like a welcoming melody. She ate and drank gratefully, feeling proud of her first lesson at the estate, with a quiet strength growing inside her, like roots of a sturdy tree. He told her that she would return for more lessons the next week and for special performances, and her mind drifted to memories of every late-night practice session. She thanked him and the tutor, her heart full of hope as she left the sunlit room, feeling a soft thrill of promise flutter through her like wings of a bird. She left the room feeling inspired and ready for the journey ahead, noticing the sky painted in soft pastel hues, like a canvas of new beginnings. The day of her first formal performance at the estate's summer gala had arrived, and excitement pulsed through her veins under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. She wore a simple but elegant pale blue dress that brushed her knees and caught the moonlight with each step that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. Her heart raced as she walked onto the stage, every footstep echoing softly on the polished wooden floor, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. The stage was set in a beautifully decorated pavilion on the estate's manicured lawn, with lanterns hanging like pearls from the beams as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. Guests in fine clothes chatted around small tables under string lights, their murmurs drifting like soft clouds through the night air, making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. A soft breeze carried the scent of roses from the nearby garden, tucking memories of home into every petal-filled breath, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. She carried her sheet music to the grand piano on the stage, fingers trembling slightly as she prepared to play, granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. The wealthy man watched from the front row, his proud smile shining brighter than any diamond in the crowd, echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. Her tutor stood nearby, offering a reassuring nod and adjusting the cloth under the sheet music stand with calm hands wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. She sat on the piano bench and took a deep breath, closing her eyes to gather every drop of courage she could find shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. The tutor whispered, "Play with your heart, not just your hands," and her lips curved in a small, determined smile under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. Then she pressed the first key, and a clear, bold note rang out, cutting through the quiet chatter like a shining arrow that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. The melody floated through the air, soft and bright, weaving a thread of hope between every listening ear, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. Guests stopped their conversations and turned to listen, as though carried by a gentle current to the edge of the stage as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. Children sat cross-legged on the lawn, watching quietly with wide eyes that reflected the candlelight and the music's glow, making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. The music grew, carrying warmth like sunshine on a cool day, and wrapping each listener in a comforting embrace, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. Her fingers moved smoothly over the keys, painting a story of courage and grace, with every deliberate note granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. Each chord bloomed like a flower opening in spring, filling the night with color and gentle promise echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. He whispered to an attendant, "Let her be heard more clearly," and the sound seemed to swell in response, wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. She smiled slightly and continued playing the next section, her confidence soaring higher than the lanterns above, shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. The tune shifted to a gentle waltz that made feet tap softly and chairs sway as guests followed the rhythm unconsciously under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. Lantern light twinkled over the piano as she played, casting silver ribbons of glow across the polished keys that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. Her confidence grew with each measure, and she felt the music flow through her like a swift, joyful river, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. The wealthy man stood and raised his glass in toast, his gesture tipping more light onto the stage like sunrise as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. A small ensemble played soft background tunes near the buffet, their strings and woodwinds blending in harmony, making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. She briefly paused to let the applause settle, her chest rising with a mix of relief and anticipation, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. Then she moved into the grand finale of the piece, her hands dancing over the keys with swift elegance, granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. The final notes rang clear as bells in a quiet tower, each sound sparkling like crystals in the night, echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. The crowd rose and clapped in a joyful chorus, their applause pealing through the pavilion like rolling thunder, wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. She bowed deeply, her cheeks warming like sunrise as she soaked in the sea of approving faces, shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. He stepped forward and called her name loudly, his voice echoing against the marble columns with gentle force under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. She walked to the edge of the stage, holding back tears as gratitude and pride swirled in her chest that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. He offered her a bouquet of white roses, petals soft as clouds and wrapped in silver ribbon that glinted softly, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. She accepted them with shaking hands and a grateful smile, her voice catching when she whispered, "Thank you," as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. The guests continued to cheer and offer words of praise, their warmth wrapping around her like a cozy blanket, making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. She felt a blend of relief and pride swirl inside her, mingling like a soft lullaby and a triumphant march, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. Later, she and her tutors sat under a large oak tree near the pavilion, resting on a set of wooden benches, granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. As fireflies danced around them, the tutor praised her progress and spoke of future pieces to master, echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. The wealthy man approached quietly and said, "Your music shines like a star in the night," and she smiled with bright eyes, wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. She thanked him and the tutor once more, her voice steady and clear as she looked toward a path filled with new melodies shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. The following week, she traveled to the Grand City Concert Hall to perform before a new audience of patrons and music lovers under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. She arrived early in the afternoon, her dress a rich shade of emerald that reflected her growing confidence that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. Her tutor walked beside her down the red-carpeted hallway, offering advice and gentle encouragement, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. Stagehands guided her to the center of the stage, where a gleaming grand piano awaited as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. She placed her sheet music on a music stand, adjusting the light to illuminate the notes, clearly making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. As the hall filled with guests, she ran her fingers lightly across the keys, feeling the smooth surface shine under her touch, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. The band leader raised his baton and signaled for silence, his eyes conveying both respect and anticipation, granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. She straightened her posture and took a slow breath, centering her thoughts on the music she would share echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. She began to play her favorite composition, the notes flowing effortlessly as though guided by an unseen hand wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. The melody filled the vast space, rising and falling like gentle waves against a starlit shore, shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. Audience members leaned forward, captivated by the elegance and clarity of each phrase under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. Heard through the open balcony windows, the music drifted into nearby streets, drawing listeners from the sidewalks that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. She discovered that music could bridge distance, touching hearts far beyond the hall's marble walls, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. She transitioned into a fast, lively section, her fingers dancing across the keys with agility and grace as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. The music got faster, and her heart matched its pace, beating in harmony with each note, making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. Her tutor, standing nearby, watched with pride shining in her eyes as she observed the seamless performance, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. Other musicians joined in, weaving their instruments around her piano melody, granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. Violins, cellos, and flutes blended with her playing, making a full, rich sound echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. The audience applauded softly between movements, their admiration growing with every new passage wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. She paused in the middle of her performance to introduce a new original composition she had written herself, shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. She described how inspiration struck her during late-night practice sessions at home by candlelight under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. The new piece began with a soft, haunting melody that echoed in the silent hall like a whispered secret that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. As she played, her composition revealed layers of emotion, from gentle longing to bright hope, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. Strings from the accompaniment followed her lead, adding depth and warmth to the personal new melody as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. Some guests closed their eyes to immerse themselves fully in the story her music told, making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. When the final note lingered and faded, the audience erupted in enthusiastic applause that echoed like thunder, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. She offered a graceful bow and felt tears of joy fill her eyes, touched by the outpouring of appreciation, granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. The wealthy man and his representative stood first, applauding with pride as he cheered her name echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. He stepped onto the stage to join her, offering her a single white rose as a token of respect wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. She accepted the rose, its petals soft and fragrant like a promise of future success, shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. He announced that he would sponsor her next tour, opening doors to stages in distant cities under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. The tutor smiled warmly and hugged her, whispering congratulations into her ear that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. They left the stage together, leaving behind a hall still echoing with applause and wonder, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. Outside the hall, Street musicians played her melodies on violin and cello to passing crowds as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. News of her performance spread quickly through newspapers and social gatherings, making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. She found articles describing her as the rising star whose music touched hearts, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. Her family celebrated late into the night, toasting her achievements with laughter and song, granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. She dreamed of the next performance, imagining new compositions and bigger audiences echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. In her dreams, she saw herself on grand stages under brilliant spotlights, sharing her gift with the world, wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. She awoke the next morning with renewed determination, ready to continue her journey as a musician, shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. Months later, she returned to her hometown to open a small music school for children under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. She converted a bright room above the family bakery into a cozy music classroom that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. She painted the walls a soft yellow and hung pictures of famous musicians on them, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. Her brother helped move an upright piano into the room near the big window, as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. On the first day, parents and children lined up outside the school door, making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. She greeted each child with a warm smile and a friendly wave, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. Her grandmother brought homemade cookies for the students after class, granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. She taught children how to read music notes and how to practice scales echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. She explained rhythm by tapping on the piano bench and counting beats, wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. The children played simple songs and clapped for each other, shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. She felt joy watching their eyes light up with each new note they learned, painting vivid pictures in every mind. Some students practiced at home and showed her videos of their progress, stirring emotions deep within each heart. She sent encouraging messages and small stickers to reward their effort, creating a moment they would never forget. In the evenings, she held a community concert in the bakery courtyard, filling the space with pure, gentle magic. Lanterns swayed overhead as neighbors gathered to listen, uniting everyone in silent admiration. Her students played their songs one by one, and the crowd cheered, painting vivid pictures in every mind. She sat at a small piano and backed them with gentle chords. The soft glow of lanterns made the night feel warm and welcoming. The bakery sold fresh bread and sweet pastries. During the concert, the gentle rustle of leaves joined her music in a quiet symphony. The smell of baked goods mixed with the music and warm night air, music and laughter filled the courtyard with lighthearted joy. Her tutor visited and was proud of the school she had built. The children's smiles shone brighter than any star in the sky. She invited the wealthy man to see her school and student concert under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. He arrived with flowers and clapped the loudest for the children that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. He offered to donate new instruments to the school, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. She accepted his gift with gratitude and plans to buy drums and violins as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side. Winter came, and the school held its first holiday recital, making the evening feel like a dream painted in music and moonlight. Snow fell softly outside as the children played festive tunes indoors, and the audience watched in awe as melody wove through the night air. Parents sipped hot chocolate and clapped happily for each performer, granting each listener a moment of calm wonder and gentle comfort. She closed the recital by playing her original composition, echoing softly off the marble columns and crystal chandeliers above. Her melody told the story of hope and kindness she had found, wrapping around every guest like a comforting blanket of sound. After the recital, students helped decorate the room with paper snowflakes, shimmering in the cool night air like diamonds on black velvet. She thanked everyone and announced a winter break for the school, painting vivid pictures in every mind. During the break, she studied new pieces for next term, stirring emotions deep within each heart. She practiced daily at her piano until her fingers felt strong and sure, creating a moment they would never forget. She wrote new music and sketched notes in her journal, filling the space with pure, gentle magic. In spring, She planned a special concert at the estate garden, uniting everyone in silent admiration. Invitations were sent to friends, family, and generous patrons, painting vivid pictures in every mind. On the concert day, flowers bloomed and birds sang in the garden under a canopy of stars and lantern light drifting like fireflies across the dark velvet sky. Children sat on blankets with violins and small flutes in hand that echoed like gentle waves lapping on a peaceful shore at sunset. She conducted the concert with calm confidence and a joyful smile, each note carrying warmth like golden sunlight on dewy morning grass. When the final note faded, everyone rose to their feet and cheered her, students and teacher alike, as the breeze whispered through the trees beyond the pavilion's open side.